season 3, episode number 6. We were obviously having some tech difficulties. We're supposed to start at 7. Here we are at 7:23, but I'm a firm believer that I'd rather you start late and right than start on time and be wrong. So here we are. Tonight we're talking community conversations. And so one of the things as one who pastors a church that is unique to me, I look back at the peak of the civil rights movement, and the church was the epicenter of the community. The church and the community, there was not an estranged relationship.
Yeah.
It really went kind of hand in hand. And if you look back from the 60s to where we are now, we've kind of lost our way a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's why tonight's episode is so important. We have the lovely T'erra Estes. She is the founder and executive director of Teach Not Punish. And so we'll talk more about what that is, what you do. For me, you are a giant in our community. Seriously.
Not just because of my height.
That's good. That's good. No, not just because of your height, but seriously though, you are a giant in our community. So it's an honor to have you on.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on.
Yeah.
It is.
Good deal. Got all the sound checks. I believe everything is set. You ready to hop into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So for you, not just being a giant in the community, but you also you born and raised in the church. We know our sponsors, the Virgin Street Church of Christ. You grew up at the time, it was East Virgin Street Church of Christ. So you're a product of not only this community, but you're a product of this church. So for you, what about this spiritual community over your life resonates with you most?
Oh my gosh, it's the foundation for my life. I mean, I remember because I was born in Germany.
Yeah,
I was born in Germany. Spent several years in Germany as an adolescent.
Okay.
And came back to Tulsa when I was 10. So if I was 10, how old were you?
Yeah.
Like
I was
6.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And I was drawn back to church because I wanted to spend time with my family. And, my whole family went here.
Sure.
I do recall, the church van coming to pick us up. This is before I went to Germany, when I was a toddler.
Okay.
I remember very early on, riding the church van, being dressed up in dresses.
Yeah.
I remember, Mandy being the choir director. I remember all of that. I remember my Uncle Clifford challenging us to learn the 66 Bibles.
Sounds about right.
Chapters in the Bible, books in the Bible. So I remember just really wanting to engulf myself in spirituality.
Yeah.
At a young age, I was baptized 11, I think, maybe like a year, 5th grade, because I remember my first lie. No, to this day.
You got a good memory then. Remember you're an elephant, because I don't remember mine.
Because it was like in the moment of my lie at school, I was like, oh, this will be my first lie because I have to lie. And I remember asking the Lord to forgive me. So I've always been taken my spirituality very seriously. At every phase of my life, even when I knew I was cutting up, I'll just say, I would always self-evaluate and think to myself, I need to get myself together because there is no sin greater than the next. And so I was very much so the elementary kid coming up asking for prayers, for prayers and forgiveness in middle school. Because I was gossiping or because I was being mean or, and so, but that's how serious I have always taken my spirituality. I've always wanted to be aligned with the Lord. Like I knew from a very early age, that was the best way to go. And to this day, it's the best way to go. It's the best way to go. And any moment where I see myself slipping, where I'm more influenced by myself,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm more influenced by anything.
Yeah.
I will sit myself down and ground myself to focus on being obedient.
Yeah. That's
So
good. That's good.
it's always, my spirituality has always been very serious to me.
Nice, nice. No, that's really good. We appreciate you just sharing and being transparent about your spiritual journey, even that first lie. Real great. We appreciate that. Um, Moving forward into now your adult life, let's talk TNP. Let's talk TNP. Before, like I said, you were born and raised here. Before relocating back to your home city and state from Fort Worth, Texas. Um, what was the vision behind Teach Not Punish? There may be some on who are less familiar with you, so kind of tell us, generally what is Teach Not Punish, what's its mission, what's the
Sure.
vision behind it?
Sure. So I'll share a little bit of context before
Yeah.
talking about Teach Not Punish, because how I came about the vision of Teach Not Punish very much so is connected to my personal experiences.
Okay.
And so at the time when I had a vision for serving in the Tulsa community,
Mm-hmm.
I was a special education teacher.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't a special ed teacher. I was a behavior specialist.
Okay.
Still kind of classified as special education. Sure. And it was a very vulnerable time in my life. I was a fairly new educator. I had taught. I was in my 4th year, and those of you who are educators know, even 4 years in, you're still like, okay, we're doing this. Okay, yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
You just have your bearings, and had just come off of a very traumatic experience with Angelo, my husband, nearly losing his life.
Right.
Being ejected 60 feet out of a moving vehicle. And I had just had my son, Angelo, who is 16 now, and he was 6 months then.
He's a giant. I say he's literally a giant.
Yeah. Yes, our whole family, we're all giants. Except Thaddeus, but he's working on it.
He's on his way.
Yeah, he's working on it. He's got a giant spirit, though.
Yeah.
You can't tell him he's not 6'8" like his daddy. Okay. And so I had just started to stabilize emotionally. I was very strong spiritually, because the only way I was able to overcome all of that adversity was through my spirituality.
Yeah.
I had no doubt about the power of prayer. I had no doubt about the power of miracles. Sure. Because I had witnessed a miracle.
Right.
With Angelo surviving and being okay,
that was a blessing for all of us to, it was traumatic, but then just to have, some people don't have the happy ending. They don't make it, so to experience that, and then to have the outcome, to see him, still active, still faithful, still cognizant, still be a husband, be a father.
Yes.
To be so many things, so many people, it's a blessing.
Yes. Yeah, well, yes, it's definitely a blessing. I don't take it for granted. We all don't. Sometimes I think we do, though, because that was very scary, and he could very well not be here.
Yeah.
And so even when I think about that experience, sometimes I have to take a step back and think how gracious God is.
Sure.
And so, at that point in my life, I was I wouldn't say, because I was not, Angelo has always been the head of our household, but I was very much so the one holding the family together.
Yeah.
And maybe that's all wives anyway.
Sure. Yeah. As a husband, shout out to my wife. Hey, baby.
I was going to say, that was you answered that quick, Ryan.
Yeah. Okay. I got to go home tonight.
You agree? Yeah. Yeah. Well, very much so in that, time period, which was 15 years ago now. And so I was well on my way as an educator. Our family was stable. Angelo had recovered to where he was the same person, that he was prior to the accident. He, was mobile again, because there was a period of time where he was immobile. He was at home. He couldn't do much.
Yeah.
He was back working in the studio. I just felt so blessed to had overcome such adversity. And I had got a promotion as a behavior specialist, and the type of professional I am, learner I am, is that if I encounter something new, I want to learn everything about it. I want to be the best. I want to be a master and just offer my best self to whatever it is. And I attended a training called Positive Behavior Interventions and Support school-wide.
Okay.
And I encountered a quote that talked about teach, not punish. And it said, if a child wants to learn how to read, we teach. If a child wants to learn how to swim, we teach. If a child wants to know how to drive, we teach. All of these variations of teaching. And the last sentence said, if a child doesn't know how to behave, do we teach or punish? Why can't we finish the last sentence the same as the others? And I was so convicted as a parent.
Yeah.
Not as a teacher, because I was very patient with my students, because, you got a job to do. It's like, you have, it sounds crazy. You have a responsibility as a teacher. But I also had a responsibility as a parent, but I felt I had dropped the ball, and I cried and cried and cried and thought about how punitive I had been. In reality, it wasn't that punitive. But I just thought about the time and attention that it takes for a child to learn. And I learned about positive reinforcement. I learned about the process of learning and all. And it was just a space that I was able to be in the moment and think about what I wanted to do, what I had done, and how I wanted to get better and as a person, and how I wanted to get better at being a parent. And so I started my job.
Yeah.
Felt well equipped. I was equipped with all these strategies, and I was ready to go to intervene with students because I had success with students as a special ed teacher. My students responded well to me. We had great relationships. They passed the state test. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And so at that moment, I encountered a student, and I can't recall his name right now, but he was from Oklahoma City, and I was in Texas.
Okay.
And he was troubled. He would fight us something terrible, because I was in a behavior unit, basically, and providing inclusion services like in general ed to students, but oftentimes my students were not in the general ed classroom because of their behavior.
Right.
And so my philosophy was to equip them in the special education classroom, but then merge them into general ed, because that's the best place for children to learn with other children.
Right.
However, children have to be safe. And so if students aren't making other students safe, then they just can't. And so the students that I was their teacher, they had never been in gen ed because of their behavior.
Gotcha.
And I was like, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm going to support these students. They're going to merge into gen ed. Well, mid first semester, I encountered a student, and he was off the chain. He would fight us. And we were all trained to restrain, and we hated doing that. It's the last resort.
Right.
And I just was like, this is not okay. Well, he ended up leaving before Thanksgiving, and that often happens with students.
Sure.
And then I was like, oh, Lord, I hope I did my part for this child. Yeah. And I was like, what next, And so anyway, one night during that period when I was supporting these students, I had sleepless nights, and I just could not sleep, and I just heard teach, not punish in my head. And it's a philosophy. It's a philosophy to focus on the process of teaching, the time that it takes to teach, and the time that it takes to learn. before and also in consideration of consequences.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I just was like, I ran and told my husband Angelo, like, I got it. It's Teach Not Punish. That's what I want to do. And I created a Facebook page called Teach Not Punish, sharing all of the new information I received as a teacher, sharing parenting strategies to build healthy relationships with children, sharing resources in the community, because I also wanted to share resources. Because when I was going through adversity, even in Texas, when I was trying to stabilize our family, I was searching for where I could gain access to resources of all sorts, from food, to jobs, and then even when I was a young adult in Tulsa before graduating, and as a single mother, I was in search of resources, very much so a recipient of government assistance, and searching for, just access to information, resources, all of it. And so that was something else I wanted to share, because I knew what it felt like to be in a space where you're like, what are we doing?
That's good. When I just hear you share your story, oftentimes a lot of these success stories come from personal experience.
Oh, yes.
And so it's great for you to be an advocate for what you didn't have, or some things that you were lacking growing up. So I think that's a blessing in itself, to say, okay, hey, this individual that, I'm reaching out to you, not just as a businesswoman. I don't see you just as a number or just another kid on the block. Like, I see myself in you. Yes,
and that is what I want. Are the people we serve to see, because I'm very much so them, and I'm very much so an advocate. My friend calls me an activist, but I'm very much an advocate from some of the basic necessities for families to funding, so that I can continue to provide resources and access for families, because the vision for TNP was to create a support system for people, families, when they're going through adversity, creating access to education, creating access to basic needs. That's what I wanted to do, create access to mental health support while you're going through crisis. And so I know that was a long story about my vision for TNP. I love a good origin story.
I love a good origin story.
But that is how it started. And it just grew from there. I'm still in awe that TNP is a full-blown nonprofit 501c3 organization.
Amen. So let me ask you this: one of the probably the inter-network things. How does it feel to invest in a child and actually see how they turn out? Because a lot of times, outside of what I do here with pastoring the church, I was like you in Texas, and I was a youth minister for over 4 years. City Cross Church of Christ, shout out, shameless plug. That's my family in Texas. But anywho, one of the, I guess, difficulties I'd say with investing in children is you don't always get to see how they bloom or how they blossom.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, when you're working with anything, you want to see the outcome.
Yes.
But working with kids, you don't always get to see the outcome. So for you, when those times do come where you invest in a child and you see the outcome, how does that make you feel?
Oh man, that's why I am who I am today.
Yeah.
Not because of who I thought I was, it's because of what I saw, the results that I saw from people that I worked with or they told me about. For example, like I told you, I worked in the behavior unit, and the kid who never went to gen ed, we worked that whole semester getting him integrated into the classrooms. We had so many bumps in the road along the way. It was, the teachers would say that I coddled students and all of, and I was much younger than everybody. So they were just like, I'm sick of her. She's just so positive. Okay. Take him and just teach him. And so, but I was very serious because it wasn't my idea. It was research-based. It's all research-based. And so when I left the district, because remember I said the student left? Well, after that, I wasn't sure if I belonged at that school, because it was very hard on me mentally to be in those positions with students, to be a part of a restraint team. And I was just like,
It's overwhelming.
This is a lot. And so I had updated my resume, everything. And I didn't know where I was going. But I was like, this don't feel right.
Yeah.
Literally, I got back from Christmas break, and I was searching for my supervisor's phone number to use as a reference and my resume that I developed to get up out of there.
Yeah.
and I could not find it. I sat at my desk and my phone rang. It was Lori. And I said, Lori, I've been trying to find your number. She said, T'erra, I told myself if I had to go to Kennedale to find you myself, I was going to find you. I would like for you to apply for this position. So I ended up going back to the district I left because they found a need for me to be there. And it just goes back to being obedient, you know? That's really what I accredit it to be, and why I'm so strong in my spirituality. Why I try to be so strong in my spirituality, because it is tried and true for me. And oftentimes I don't know what's ahead. I just put my head down. I just do what I think I should do, and try to remain disciplined, and just wait to see what the Lord has in store.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So you're in a unique spot in that.
Oh, wait, Brian, hold on. I forgot to tell you about the kids. See, I got distracted. Let me tell you about the kids. So I left real quick, okay? I left. After I left, one of the teachers called me about a month later and said, T'erra, I could cry thinking about it right now. Matthew has been in general ed ever since you left.
Oh, wow.
And he had never been in gen ed before. He was in the 6th grade. He had never been to gen ed before.
Wow.
And after we worked together those months, he learned the coping skills to be in class with his peers.
So you made that difference.
So that part is how that. So you asked, like, what does it feel like? It made me feel like I could do anything, because these kids were troubled.
Yeah.
You know, they just dealt with a lot with their diagnosis and, you know, what comes along with, you know, their mental state, their psychological state. And so anyway, that was an example of why I knew I had a cape somewhere underneath my shirt, because Matthew was in gen ed for the rest of the school year. Yeah. And I got that same effect from all the students. And like when I see students here in Tulsa, I started off working here at a school, and I see them and they're like, Miss Estes, they still remember, they give me a big hug, you know, and I have always been like the behavior specialist. So usually the kids that I encountered often have behavior challenges. And so it just makes me feel really good when I see the students that I worked with doing well, you know, and still valuing that relationship we had.
That's good.
It keeps me going.
Yeah, for sure. Because the reality is, I mean, people say all the time, oh, don't do it for the recognition, but the recognition does help. You know, I think that's, even spiritual, it's good to hear someone say, hey, you really impacted my life. Because a lot of times when you're grinding, when you got your head down, sometimes you ask, am I really making a difference? You know, and I think at the right time, God will send that person, or, you know, just randomly too, you know, it just catches you out off guard, and he's like, oh my God, like I didn't even really realize I'm making it, but that's that confirmation.
Oh yeah. And so after then, you know, I went to Fort Worth ISD, and I was a behavior specialist, managed I had 7 campuses where I supported students with behavior challenges on those campuses. And we brought them together to teach them social skills. So even in that program, I saw students make a 180 in their behavior because of the support that me and my partner provided them. And the challenge for me was that we worked so hard, you know, during the school hours and while school was in session, but when the child went home, if the child's home life wasn't stable, it would undo a lot of the things we taught. And that's when I started to shift my focus to what families need.
Makes sense. No, that's true. So if you didn't get anything else from that spiel, if you are interested in TMP, if you are in the need of resources of any kind, if you need support for your child or in your family, you're rocking with someone who got skins in the game, very well experienced. They are great. She's great at what she does. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and now it's supporting our team in doing it. With running an organization, it's difficult to still provide that direct service to students. And so now what I'm focusing on, especially in 2025, is supporting and equipping our team to be able to cultivate relationships with students, their families, teachers. And I'm doing that by providing the development that I receive. Because you have to be a unique individual to fill gaps in schools.
Oh, yeah.
And then also address mental health support. So it's definitely something that I was good at and I'm still good at. Now I'm focusing on equipping other professionals to be just as good as I am.
Sure. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's good mission, good drive, a good focus, I think, looking ahead into next year. So on the conversation of community, we mentioned earlier you were a product of the spiritual community here.
Yes.
You impacted change in the communities that you were a part of in Texas. Now you're back home in Oklahoma. Yeah. So for you, being on both sides of the coin, so being a part of a strong-knit spiritual community, but then also being a part of our local community in the city, from your vantage point, what do you believe needs to happen for the local community and the spiritual community of the church to better collaborate? Because that's something we always trying to do, is get back to.
Yeah. I think we need to be in the space of innovation, to be innovative and creative, going to where people are. One very important component of bringing the community to spiritual spaces where they can grow their spiritual walk with God is being a model.
Sure.
Being a role model, because you can talk all day long, but if you're not walking the walk, it's difficult for people to believe that, what you believe in is fruitful.
Yeah, that's major.
Like, people want to see evidence.
Sure.
And so, but what's interesting is that in order to do that, you have to be pretty sound in your spirituality if you're going to go where people are. But, just outreach and starting conversations about it, just conversations about how people feel, where they are mentally. Because you can also, when I was a kid, everything was a sin in the Church of Christ. Did you see? I was like, I'm lying. No.
Right.
It's like, people don't want to hear that.
Right.
First of all, everyone sins, for one thing, and we are not the judge. What we can do is demonstrate what it looks like to be a follower of Christ, and people be curious about how you're able to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's first and foremost. So, and that means you show up wherever you are. And people ask me, what church do you go to? I tell them Virgin Street Church of Christ, and they're like, oh, and because Tulsa's so small, so then they say, oh, Brother Blaney, and it's just conversations,
it's a network.
That happen. But just being present, and it's not only what we do in the church building, it's what we do outside of, because that's actually more important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great coming together, worshiping together, but being intentional about how you behave outside of the church. Also being intentional about coming to church, because there's virtual options now, and I might be late, but I'll be here.
Hey, as they say, better late than never. That's good though, because a lot of times people focus so much on what happens in here that they don't take the impact of what happens here out. And so I love what you said about meeting people where they are.
Yes.
Because a lot of what happened in yesteryear was, oh, you got to come here, you got to come, and it's true. There is a blessing about being a part of a spiritual community,
Yes.
but if we're dealing with an unchurched community now,
Yes.
and so they have to, like you said, they have to they have to have a demonstration. They need an example to follow, and if they are not willing to come, we have to be willing to go to them. I say all the time, when you look at the ministry of Jesus, the majority of it wasn't in the church house.
Yes.
It was out with the people.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm not the one to compare myself to Jesus, because he was much stronger than I am. But I do strive to be that way, you know.
That's the goal.
And that's the best that we can do. Also, you know, just when you focus on the youth, you know, and how you can engage the youth and their families, that's also important. Because there's a church on every corner.
Sure.
You know, you know, you just have to be intentional about your outreach, and then be committed to it.
Yeah. No, we appreciate that. One thing I said a couple weeks ago in a lesson on the conversation of sin and convicting other people is when someone is wrong, you don't have to tell them that they're wrong. They know it. You know, so it's like you were saying with yourself, being great. Oh my God, I'm lying. You know, and so people know it. They know when they're doing wrong. And so I think the approach has to be more model based, where okay, let me as the individual, instead of trying to convict you with what I say, let me convict you in a healthy, constructive way by just how I live my life, and then from there, it's okay. You know, hey, I'm struggling with this, and you know, I've been looking at people. They watch us, you know, and whether we know it or not, people are watching us, and that's when they'll ask, "Hey, I need help," or, you know, "You're trustworthy. I've been following you for a while. What advice can you share with me?" And so it's. I think all in all, from what I've gathered, what you were saying is you got to be relational.
Oh yes, that's hands down. You know, I think church building causes people to be anxious, I think, sometimes, because they're not sure of like how they'll be treated or whatever it is.
Attire,
all kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know, all kind of stuff. And then there are churches that are very, you know, have their doors open and you know, come as you are and make it fun and all of this. And so you have to be intentional, like I said, and follow up too, because even when folks ask you what church you go to or whatnot, you know, that might be the only thing. So it's also important to, you know, follow up, invite people to church, and you know, ask them what church they go to. Sometimes, you know, you have to meet people where they are and, you know, offer a ride, or, you know, just stay on it. And I'm also usually people who ask me like about my spiritual life I've spent time with,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And they're curious, like, because they know I've been through a lot, and they're like, well, how do you do that? You know, and I think that's most important, is to just demonstrate how important it is to have a spiritual life, and the benefits of it.
Yeah,
because, you know, everything else you can choose to do that's outside of spirituality is easy to do.
Yeah.
But I am a witness, and I believe and I know that it's temporary. Like that is a temporary fix. Yeah. It does nothing but dig you deeper and deeper into being lost.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Being lost. And so you have to be courageous to focus on being a follower of Christ.
Sure. So I'm curious, you got a couple years on me, so you've seen more of what this local congregation has been before me. So from where you were as a kid to where you are now, what positive changes have you seen?
Well, I was wondering when we was going to get to you, Ryan, because I am so inspired by how you have led at this congregation. You know, you returned to Tulsa a year or two before me, and that was a huge change for this church.
Sure.
And, you know, you very much so heard, all types of things about you not being ready. And people have the right to feel that way and also worship where they want to worship,
Yeah.
So I know that was hard for you, for people not to have confidence in you.
Right.
But you were steadfast and obedient. When I walk in here on Sundays, late, and please forgive me.
Hey, transparency is key. You all right?
But the church is packed and diverse.
Yeah.
With children. You invite other people to share the word. I mean, it's giving I.S. Vinson, who is the founder of this church.
Yeah.
It truly is. And it is so inspiring to me. And it makes you want to come.
Sure.
It makes you want to be there because you're like, when I've worshiped online, when I'm out of town or when something's going on and I'm worshiping from home, I'm looking at the screen like, oh my gosh, everybody's at church. Yeah. I need to get down there.
Yes, it makes you want to come.
Yes. Yeah. And then with us having engagement opportunities like the young adults outings that are just fun and, events for kids. I mean, oh my gosh, the events for kids. It's so alive. Yeah. And it feels good to see. So I know it feels good to like lead.
Yeah.
In this way. Because I run a nonprofit organization and it for sure feels good to see the impact and the outcome from people that people have from engaging with us. That's one thing. But when you are a minister and you've gone to school, you this is your foundation, you have an expectation to guide people and pour into them, communicate what God wants for them to them.
Yeah.
And to see the church grow like this, it's something you should be very blessed about because it shows your hard work. It shows your dedication. It shows that you're reaching people where they are, and then you are engaging them where they're staying, and then they're inviting other people to come.
Right.
That is such a great thing to witness. It's such a great thing to witness and to be a part of. I mean, because I've said I want to start a children's choir for about 2 years now, and I still am trying to figure out how I can do it.
Yeah.
Because it just makes you want. It just motivates you.
Sure.
It just motivates you. And so I commend you for being dedicated and obedient through all the trials and tribulations that I believe we go through as experience for our testimony to share, because now, we're not looking at you as if you don't know what it's like to X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? You understand that is how you connect with people, by sharing the same experiences. And so I tell you what, I'm proud of what East Virgin Street is doing here. I want to do more, I want to do more. I love that our family gets on up and come here. It's, and because that's important. You don't want to be dragging people to
That's right. That's right.
You don't want to be dragging people to church. Like, come on. And I very much so felt that way when I was younger. That's probably because we were always at church, which ain't nothing wrong with that.
Right.
However, some people it doesn't feel good for them when they feel like when they don't have their own connection. So that's why it's important to meet people where they are and make sure you're doing something for everyone, so that it's not like I'm here because my mama's here. I'm here because my wife is here.
Point. That's a very good point.
You're like, let's go.
Yeah.
Because Brother Matt, he cracks me up. He cracks me up. He is bringing people. Like, I love that you're installing deacons. Like, these are things that are new for the Church of Christ.
Right.
And so you're bringing in biblical practices that are an enrichment to the church.
Sure.
And so I love it.
Appreciate that. We were talking, about community, and a lot of who I am is a product of a number of things on the spiritual side. One, obviously, this church, much like you, I was born and raised in this church, so I wouldn't be who I am without it. Growing up as a young adult, being a youth ministry, tell you quickly about, one of my stories. So I was a youth minister, and I was the third official at that congregation. And before me, the two youth ministers prior to me didn't stay more than 12 months. So when I came in, that was their context. So looking at me, oh, Brother Ryan ain't gonna be here more than 12 months. We ain't gotta listen to him.
Okay.
Coming into that, and the youth workers, they had that same mentality too. He won't be here long. So, and you could feel it. You could feel they're not listening to me. But like you said, being obedient, staying disciplined. And when my 4-year tenure was up, one of my youth workers told me, she pretty much admitted, we weren't listening to you. We know we were not, following you as we should. She said, but I want to encourage you. She said, what got us to love and respect you is that you were consistent.
Yes.
Regardless, you kept meeting with us, you kept calling us, you kept leading us despite of how, in spite of how, they were treating me.
Yeah.
She's like, and that made us love you, And so she said, going back home to Tulsa, leading the congregation, wear them down with consistency, do to them what you did to us.
Yeah.
She said, I guarantee you the church will grow to accept you, and the church will grow. You know?
Consistency is golden. Consistency is the key to it all, because it's something about the 10,000 hour that they talk about. 10,000 hours. It's something to it. I don't know exactly what, and I haven't done my research, but it's the consistency that you contribute to what you're passionate about, what you're called to do. Yeah. Because if you're doing something 10,000 hours, it's like, okay, this is more than
a job for me. Okay. I love what I'm doing.
It's a gift that you have. It's a calling on your life. Even when you don't want to do it. Yeah. Because the calling for me, like, I've always loved people. I've always wanted to help. I've not always been comfortable leading. A lot of that insecurity came from my childhood, because of the adverse childhood experiences I had, hurt my confidence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I've never really wanted to lead like that. It's really like someone else saying, like, what are you doing? You need to, right? Like even when I play basketball, they're like, shoot the ball. What are you doing? Like, what, so for me, you only got to tell me once.
Right.
And that's just how I am. So like, I throughout my life, I've been very unsure. Like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Other people tell me, you did this and that impacted me or I saw you do this, you can do this. And that's why it's important to meet people where they are.
Sure.
It's an integrated experience, and that's what Teach Not Punish is built on as well. Just how I treat you affects me, and how you treat me affects you. It's an experience that we're having.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's this is very interesting how God has a plan. And when you're obedient, it can be scary because you don't know exactly what you're doing. But then when you hindsight, you look back and you think, okay, well, I guess I was team captain on my basketball team.
Yeah.
I guess I was. Even in Germany, I was selected in a Disney dance, what do you call it? A dance, I don't know, team, you should say. And that's crazy. Like, for me, that's it's crazy. And then it's like, okay. And then, just throughout my life, I've been pushed or elevated to the front because someone recognized something in me.
Yeah.
And so that is scary when you don't recognize it in yourself. However, when you do recognize it, that light turns on for you that this is a gift to be a leader. And it's not something that I can be like, I'm leading over here, y'all back up. It's like, no, in order for me to lead, I have to lean on God, because I need to have that guidance from Him and not me alone.
Yeah. No, that's good. We appreciate that Appreciate that encouragement, recognition for me, because as you know, being a leader is very, very difficult. So you have to do it when you want, do it when you don't. We were talking Wednesday in Bible study about how the community at times they reject the out of season word, and so we want to hear at times things that only make us feel comfortable. Sometimes leading, you have to lead during moments and times of discomfort. So we appreciate that. Yeah. So I'm curious, looking at you, because I've looked up to you physically and figuratively. Pun intended. But following your life, following your journey, it's one thing to have success elsewhere. You went to Texas, you were very successful there. You talked about the 7 schools and communities you impacted. But to have it at home has to feel amazing, to everyone wants that story. I went to school, had success elsewhere, but to come back and affect change in the community and the city that raised you, that's gotta feel. How does that feel?
Yeah, man. It's a double-edged sword, I tell you.
Yeah.
Because when I got back, I was so energized. I'm like, I've acquired all these skills. I have all these connections because this is my home. I'm about to knock it out of the park. Well, Tulsa, Oklahoma, woo.
It's a beast.
You are going to have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, what you know, who you think you are.
Yeah.
And so when I first got back, I was like, am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, why am I working harder here
Yes.
than I had to work in Texas?
Yes.
Like, these people know me.
That's a part of the problem.
Yeah. Because, people will see who you were. And then when they see something different, they want to keep you where you were.
Yeah.
That says a lot about them and nothing about me or you.
Sure.
And that's something that you have to settle, because I'm so thankful for my support system, because I felt like I was in a Twilight Zone when I first came back. I was like, it's got to be me. Like, am I tripping?
Yeah.
And I realized that, well, first of all, Oklahoma is 49th in the country, okay?
And it wasn't always that
education.
Way. We used to be right in the middle back when mom was peak teacher, peak principal. I said, okay, we in the middle of the pack. Medium is not a bad thing, but now 49th.
We're last, okay? 49th is last, okay?
Pretty much.
And so I was like, and so for a minute, I had to take a step back and say, okay, you don't know what you don't know. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
They don't want to treat me this way. They just are not familiar with my language and my behavior.
Yeah.
So let me take a step back. So I took a step back. And that's when I refocused on Teach Not Punish. And that was another moment in my life where I had to be obedient and say, wait a minute. The Lord brought me back to Tulsa to create an organization to serve in the Tulsa community.
Yep.
So let me focus on that and quit trying to conquer the world.
Yeah.
So I actually felt invisible probably until now.
Yeah.
Like this year. And not that, first of all, I'm 5'11", so I'm actually not, people see who I am. But that also just goes to, for me, like my brother, Jonathan, he used to always say when we were teenagers and we were in 20s, he's like, man, I hate going places with you. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
He's like, because everybody's always staring at you and da-da-da. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But I felt like I was working very hard to do good work. And I didn't understand it for the longest time. But then I realized that you just don't know what you don't know. As time has gone on, I started hearing about adverse childhood experiences, ACE scores, and I started hearing about Boys Town educational model. I started seeing commercials about Boys Town educational model, which is the curriculum that our social skills are developed from and how I was trained in Texas. So I'm like, we're getting there.
Yeah.
So let me stay the course.
Yep.
And, keep my head down, focus on my circle of influence, people who are aligned with where I'm at. And that's it. And so, just recently, this year, I feel like I've gotten recognition for the work that I'm contributing to the community, and it still was unexpected. Like I just got to a point where it was like, oh, I'm just gonna do like these families I'm supporting, they're doing well. Like I'm just gonna focus on that, and so it feels really good. It does. I must say. I'm surprised, I'm surprised that I get the recognition, because I still like, it's not nothing I expect.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And maybe I had grown accustomed to that because I felt so unseen and invisible for the last 7 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, I'm just going to do it, So it feels really good for people to know what Teach Not Punish is, and know that I'm out here being an advocate. I feel validated in a way that feels really good.
Yeah.
It is. I think everybody needs validation.
Yeah.
I believe in that, because I'm for sure everybody's cheerleader. Like, we're doing this, and
Yeah.
And so I must admit that I needed that too.
Sure. Definitely.
It's definitely a gift to, have recognition, because, Jesus didn't even get that. And you know what they say, Jesus sacrificed by his own people. Well, not what he say, that's what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
So I've always been like, did I make the right decision? Am I reaching and teaching?
I understand.
And so, like, recently, although this year, Ryan, has been the most turbulent year that I've experienced in different ways. And so even in like current times, it's like the recognition that I'm getting, I need it, because I again felt like I was in the twilight zone.
Right on time. You needed it.
Like, what is going on? Then all of a sudden it's like, oh. And so, so it feels really good. I am working very hard to serve in this community and be impactful.
Yeah.
For one, because I love being a part of someone else's success. I love seeing kids, who were on a trajectory to prison or jail, and they're graduating high school. They're working. I love to see young girls who look like me reach a goal, and then they're like, I'm, going to TCC. I'm going, I just love being a part of someone else's success. It just makes me feel really good. And so that's one reason. But then also I have children, and I'm a multi-generational parent. Yeah. And so, to see little Angelo thrive and to uproot him from his foundation in Texas was hard. He didn't understand it.
Right.
And I asked him to trust me. Like, I believe this is the best thing for our family. He did not understand. And he was talk bad about Tulsa. Like, Tulsa's so boring. We ain't got this. We ain't got that. And now he probably feels the same way. But but he feels, he feels, I think he feels fulfilled.
Yeah.
Has a sense of community.
He does.
Because that was the main reason I wanted to move back to Tulsa. I wanted my children to have a sense of community. And I didn't feel that we were we were embedded in the community like that in Texas. And so it feels good. Good.
Same you said to me, proud of you. The city's proud of you. And it's one thing to have respect and acknowledgement from strangers, but it's a whole different ball game when you're getting that level of acknowledgement from your peer group.
Yeah.
So it's
and especially for people to approach me and say, I have to share something with you. When I first heard Teach Not Punish, I was like, what? And then they talk about how they really started to think about the philosophy of teaching and what the philosophy really is for Teach Not Punish, which is to focus on teaching and healthy relationships and cultivating just connection with one another. So for people to continuously approach me and share that they, they think about Teach Not Punish in their parenting, they think about Teach Not Punish in their classrooms, they think about Teach Not Punish when they're passing money out.
That's how you know you're making a difference.
I'm like, Lord, you know what? I trust you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Got some love from the chat coming in from one of our members. Let me move this around a little bit. From Sister Carla Galloway, one of our church members, says you're doing an excellent job for the community. Sister Estes, keep up the good work. So,
thank you so much.
So you got it not just from the city, not just from your family, but also your church family. And so
love that. That's needed too. For your church family to connect outside of the church and to just be a part of the work that's going on in the community. So I'm thankful for my church family.
Yeah. So people can't see it off camera, but over in one of the front pews is a pink and green scarf over there. You recently were acknowledged and became a member of the AKA sorority. Congratulations.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Yes, thank you.
Number of people are proud, but I know my mother, your Aunt Vicky, is very, 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 very proud, smiling, beaming. So for you, that's definitely a thing within the Black community, and it's becoming more prevalent in Christian communities. You have some who kind of frown on being Christian, but also being a part of a Greek fraternity or sorority. So for you, there are a number of out there, but for you, what made you choose AKA?
Yes. First and foremost, it was my exposure to people who identified as AKAs. So family. So your mother, who was an exemplary educator.
Yes.
Who introduced me to being an educator, hired me as a paraprofessional when Sam Houston was open. And then Tracy Love Chandler, who was the counselor there, was an AKA. My cousin, who is an AKA. And as an educator, the teachers who were AKAs, the founder of AKA is Ethel Hedgeman Lyle. And she was the first Black teacher in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
She founded AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority in 1908 on Howard University's campus. She created it for women who looked like her to have a support system as they're navigating through an educational system that is uncomfortable. So she was an advocate, her and the other founders. And when I learned that she left Howard University and moved to Oklahoma, was the first Black teacher in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, it resonates. Yeah.
I was like, wow. And then for the organization to celebrate its 116th year, to be a founder of an organization, and we're closing out our 8th year.
Yeah.
And to think Teach Not Punish could be here 100+ years from now is realistic because she did it.
Yeah.
And so she created it for the sisterhood that is needed to serve in the community and to also grow as professionals. We're still oftentimes the only ones in the room, the only Black women in the room, the only women in the room. And so when I was invited to be an Alpha Kappa Alpha, I felt honored for one thing because I admired all of the women who were AKAs, not only because they're all beautiful,
Indeed.
and have a aura,
Yeah, that's true.
of excellence and servitude.
Yeah.
I always recognize that. And so it felt like home for me. It came at a time, again, when I needed it. I needed a sisterhood, a group of women who aligned with my values of servitude, who value sisterhood, just getting together, supporting one another. That is like my favorite thing to do, and oftentimes I don't know exactly what to do because I'm so focused on teach not punish stuff. And so now that I'm an AKA and I'm affiliated with, any and everything AKAs do, it keeps me engaged. Not only that, I needed support right now in sustain and teach not punish.
Sure.
And when we had an event what was it, October, the Fall Festival, as soon as I mentioned that we had an event coming up, they stepped up right away. My line sisters, they stepped up right away. And it's not because they felt obligated to. That's just what they love.
Sisterhood.
It's the sisterhood and also the passion to serve all mankind. So it was something I was already doing.
Right.
It was something I was already doing, and it energizes me to be engulfed around other women who love doing the same thing. I mean, y'all gonna see a lot of me in my AK sisters, okay?
And you should, as we should.
Because sisterhood has always been important to me. I have biological sisters. I have a very strong group of friends, sister friends, that we've been friends ever since I got here from Germany, and so it's very much so a part of who I am. Like I have been motivated by the women in my life.
Sure.
From my sisters to my cousins to my friends. Like when I was pregnant with Jada after graduating high school, I was like, I'm going to college.
Yeah.
All my friends went to college.
Right.
I'm going to college. So I've always valued sisterhood. So now that I have an extended sisterhood, it feels like home.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Last one before we go, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and it's one that resonates deeply with you and I. We're on the brink of another year, 2025.
Yeah.
2022 in particular was a tough year for both of us.
Yes.
With the passing of your mother, my aunt, Jessie Vincent, and of course my mother, Vicky Smith. For me, everything in life, even something as personal as that, there's something to learn. What have you learned and gathered since the passing of your mother and just moving forward in her legacy?
That's a tough question because when you lose someone as important as a mother, it's hard to figure out what you learn from it. It's just hard to figure out the lesson in that. And I've had to really think about how to process the loss of my mom. One thing I've learned is the importance of legacy. We all will leave this earth. And what I want when I leave the earth is for there to be a legacy that my family and the community is proud of.
Yeah.
Because of what I demonstrated.
Yeah.
My mother was a lot of things.
Yeah.
She had a heart of gold. And I recognize how when a person has a heart of gold, sometimes people can't handle that.
Sure.
But that's their problem because they miss out. And so the lesson I learned is that what you demonstrate is what your legacy will be. And it's not that, we're perfect. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We, you know, everybody's not gonna like us, and you know, that has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
When we do our best to demonstrate a life that is giving, that is fruitful to others, a life of service, a life of integrity and kindness, that's what you'll be remembered as.
Sure.
And so the lesson I learned is that, you know, legacy is important. And at the end of the day, what you demonstrate mostly is what your legacy will be.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Appreciate you sharing that and putting you on the spot, you know, but I know you can handle it, you know, so.
Because, you know, you get to talk about Jessie May.
Yes, I do.
She was, oh gosh, so beautiful. So beautiful. And it's such a loss. And I still have trouble processing the loss.
Sure.
But
it's only been a couple of years.
You know, I just think about all the great things about her.
Yeah.
Because you'll get me to say, first of all.
Yep.
So if somebody start trying to pop off me, it's like, especially my kids, first of all. So it's just, you know, I just embody those things about my mom. And that's what I choose to focus on.
Yeah, no, that's good. We appreciate that. And I'll say there are many reasons why I appreciate sitting down with you underneath this topic. But just looking at you, I see my aunt.
Oh, gosh.
Watching you talk, your mannerisms, you know, and so and you talked about like legacy. You talked about legacy, and just to encourage you, because you know when you're on that front row, you don't see all of what's going on behind you. Your mind is in so many different places. But and I'm sure you went back and watched the service, but it is very much apparent that your mother had a legacy, because people don't show up and pack a church if a person didn't have a legacy. Yeah. So, you know, and watching you grow up a couple years above me, when I'm in elementary school, you were in high school. When I'm in high school, you know, you're out. And I was watching your sisters, your friends, your teammates, your classmates, you know, they were here, they were supportive. So there's definitely a legacy. There's definitely big shoes to fill, as they say. But the beauty is her offspring, her 4 children, you guys are all filling it very, very well. So you don't have to fill those shoes alone. You're doing it all together. So you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that day is still hard for me to think about. But I do recall the church being packed, you know, from near and far, you know, and that's just a testament to who she is to us. Cause she, I mean, I look at her every time I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Be like,
you can't miss her.
It's Jessie May. But ain't nothing wrong with that, because she was so beautiful inside and out, and that is special. That is special, and I hold it true. I hold it close to my heart. Now I have a pendant of her right now that I wear all the time, just because I want to keep her close to me.
Good. Oh, that's good. We got some more love coming in from the chat from another one of our members, one of our sisters in the Young Adult Ministry. Sister Silky Lewis says, "You are inspiring. You are so inspiring, Sister Estes. I love your mission and the legacy you are building for your family."
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sister Silky.
Indeed. Transparency, we appreciate it. You know, even for me, like I said, being in that same boat with you, you know, it's a blessing, because you know, for community. Going back even over just this episode and just chopping it up with you, one of the things that I consistently hear you mention is, you know, when certain blessings came in your life, it was always right when you needed it.
Yes.
Right when you needed it. And so I think for you and I, we're always knitted together now. We're always close. I mean, we grew up like brother and sister. but and I don't believe in it's not serendipitous. Like our parents were close, and even in trauma or chaos, God makes sure we have community within each other.
Yeah, I mean, because I recall, ever since we returned home, you and I have had a close relationship, and moments where we're reflecting and sharing, our experiences, and it's just interesting how God works. Because I would have never imagined losing our parents.
No.
In that close of a time, for sure, in that way, it's still so unbelievable. But God, His plan and purpose, and what He sees for us, we don't. His thoughts are not our thoughts.
Sure.
And the gift that our mothers gave us, very much so, is what we use today.
Yeah.
And what is most important, I believe, is our spirituality.
Yeah.
And like I said, Mama had us here. She had us here. I was never unclear about the role that Jesus played in my life.
Yeah.
I was pretty clear at a very young age. And it wasn't like she was preaching to me, like, and I did live with, grandmother and granddaddy and everything.
That helped too.
All of it helped. But then, I think about, I was born at 24 weeks, Ryan. And I know that you were born premature as well. We are miracles.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm learning. It's crazy. We're family. I'm learning so much about you that I did not know.
Yeah. Basically, came into this world through adversity. So resilient from the beginning.
The womb. Yeah.
And so I do believe that God has a special plan and purpose for us. He has a special plan and purpose for everyone.
Sure.
It's just He uses people in different ways, I should say. And I didn't know I was built to lead in this way. However, I know now, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And so I will do my best to continue to be obedient and to demonstrate what it looks like to be a follower of Christ. And like I said, I am not Christ. Okay.
You just his ambassador. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
One of many.
Look, okay. And so, it's definitely something that I instill in my children to have a relationship with God and to be intentional about how you show up in this world, because that is our responsibility if you're a follower of Christ. So,
Love it.
And that came from the seeds that my mother specifically planted. Not that my dad didn't, because he did.
Sure.
He did. But what I remember and what my mom's legacy is the spirituality roots. And I'm very, very, very thankful for that.
Love it. Love it. Appreciate you. You blessed us. Blessed me.
Okay, good.
I'm sure it was, being a producer in this way, it's also therapeutic to come and just share and verbalize your ideas. Right on the brink of a new year, so getting your refocus, getting your values and a lot of things like that. So we appreciate you coming in and sharing this. How can the people find this? Is a digital age. This is a ministry. How can people find you in the work? On social media?
Yep. So social media, you can find me T_Era Estes on Instagram and T'erra Estes on Facebook. Those are the two platforms I interact on the most. I have other pages related to my family, but we're always doing something.
Sure.
And then all social media platforms, Teach Not Punish, teachnotpunish.com is where you can find our information. We will actually update our website by the end of this year. We're getting a facelift. Nice. Shout out to Charity Marcus, and shout out to the Teach Not Punish team, because Ryan, today was the second day of our toy drive. Okay. Tomorrow's the last day. And today, I was so busy preparing for the luncheon tomorrow, I showed up 20 minutes before it was over, and everything was taken care of.
Hey, that's how you know it is running like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, so shout out to Chris Green and Janice Tatris Shout out to all the volunteers that showed up, my AKA sisters that showed up. Shout out to all of y'all who have supported Teach Not Punish, our board of directors.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much for the contribution you have given to Teach Not Punish and me. It's definitely helped my mental health.
Yeah.
It's helped the sustainability for Teach Not Punish, and it will be how we continue. Volunteers are the backbone of nonprofit work. And like I said, my mission, my focus as a leader is to equip our team, our professionals, to make connections, to equip others in the same way that I've demonstrated, because I've seen it work. And so follow us on all social media, teachnotpunish.com. I'm always trying to publish something to inspire and to share information about how you can gain access to the resources that we specifically have here in Tulsa.
Nice. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me.
Indeed. We'll put it all in the description. Won't have an episode next week because that's the day after Christmas, but we'll see y'all in the new year. God bless you. God keep you.